So you want to jump higher, but you don't have any time. Well, in this video, I'm going to show you a 2-day-a-week program that will help you jump higher, be a better athlete, and get you dunking better. What's up, guys? My name is John Evans. I coach many of the highest jumpers in the world, like Isaiah Rivera, Tony Crosby, Donovan Hawkins, Dominic Gonzalez, Dylan McCarthy, and the list goes on and on and on. And in this video, we're going to help those of you who are limited on time, or maybe you're in season, maybe you're a bodybuilder, and it's not necessarily your main priority to jump higher, but it's something you want to do in addition to also bodybuilding, or you have kids, and it's hard for you to get into the gym multiple days a week. This is set up for guys who have 2 days a week and can commit about an hour to 2 hours a day in those 2 days that you're training each week. So ideally, you're going to want to start with a 3-day rest period between each of those sessions. You could do it with less rest, but I would encourage you to do at least 3 days. And the reason why is because you're going to be able to recover between each of those sessions, optimize the intensity and the quality of those sessions, which is going to help you jump higher, rev up your nervous system, and get better adaptations. My recommendation would be to do your day 1 as a jump day. You could alternatively do it on the second day of the week or the Thursday session if you're doing your first day on Monday. But you're going to want to keep that jump session to about 30 to 45 minutes. Now, the reason I don't go any further than that in terms of time is because oftentimes guys will get hurt. If you're a younger athlete and you've got a ton of time and you can jump more than that, I would encourage you to do it. But this is for athletes who are either in season or don't have a lot of time. So to do a jump session correctly, you're going to want to warm up for about 5 to 10 minutes dynamically. This is doing things like dynamic stretching, doing a general jog, even just shooting around for 10 to 15 minutes. You want to get your core temp up. You're going to want to increase the compliance of the musculotendinous unit or the muscle and the tendon so that you don't get hurt. And then you're going to progressively start jumping at low intensities first and then progress to higher intensities later on in that warm-up. So an example of this, I would go to the court, I would shoot around for about 10 to 15 minutes, start doing some layups, some dribble drills, etc. Afterwards, I would do my dynamic flexibility, and we want to keep it dynamic because static flexibility has been shown in research to decrease power output, and the goal of this session is to be highly powerful. My dynamic warm-up looks like RDLs, just body weight. I do 10 reps there, then I do side squats, 10 reps each side. Then I'll do some arm circles, stretch out my lower leg with some bent knee calf stretches. Then I'll do some leg swings, both side to side, front and back, and then usually a long lunge, stretching my hamstring and my hip flexor. Sometimes I'll add in internal rotation touches. You guys have probably seen me do this in YouTube videos where I'll kind of touch the outside of my foot and then the inside of my foot to make sure that we're addressing all of the relevant musculature that we're going to be using in this jump session. Afterwards, I'll start doing layups and get progressively higher as I go. So if you're a 1-foot jumper, I would recommend taking 3 to 4 steps, doing 1 dribble and just doing a layup at the rim, and progressively try to touch your fingertips to the rim, and then if you can jump high enough, higher and higher up on your arm until your wrist is above the rim, and then you can start dunking. If you're a 2-foot jumper, the recommendations are similar. I would encourage you to just do 1 dribble to start, work on the penultimate step, being far enough back from the rim. Isaiah usually takes his around the free throw line. The more powerful you are, the further that step is going to be from your plant foot and block foot, which are the last 2 contacts in a 2-foot jump. After about 15 minutes of that general warm-up and maybe about 10 to 15 minutes of progressively jumping higher, you should be about at 100% effort. And during this part of the workout, you're going to want to jump as high as you possibly can. Now, the reason this is important is because the timing in jumping is incredibly important. We generate force in about 250 milliseconds off 2 feet to about 180 off 1 foot. So the timing of that has to be perfected by keeping intensity and intent very, very high. So you need to be trying as hard as you can while maintaining good technique in those jumps. This allows you to have a better carryover the next time that you head out, and you will progressively jump higher as you practice those reps. As far as rim height, it doesn't really matter. You could really be on any rim height you want. Just make sure that you're jumping as high as you possibly can on every single rep to get the max adaptation from it. So cut the session when you hit that 30-minute or 45-minute time period. The other way that you can tell is when your jumps start to decline. If you feel like you're starting to jump lower, then it's time to cut the session. In research, we actually see that guys who jump past the point of fatigue will end up adopting negative jump strategies, picking a different jump strategy that is less optimal. Then you'll retain that bad motor pattern and end up jumping lower moving forward the next time you go out. So we want to keep the quality high, and we want to cut the session when we start to see those jumps decline. But then you're going to rest Tuesday, Wednesday, and you're going to come back on Thursday or Friday to do your lift day. As I said previously, these days are interchangeable, so if you want to do the lift on Monday and then do your jump session later in the week, that's fine as well. Real quick, if you're interested in getting coaching and having this delivered to you in an app where we will actually coach you through a messaging, you can send videos there of your technique so that we can review it, tell you if you're doing it right, tell you if it's safe and effective. You can send your jumps so we can look at the technique and make sure that you have a long penultimate step, or we can tell you if you're a speed jumper or power jumper. We can tell you if your Olympic lifts look good, what you need to work on, probably the first pull. And you can ask ask any questions about your progression and where you're trying to get better, what your focuses are, and we can highlight those things for you so that you can attack the workouts, get better, and improve over time. If you're interested, go to THPStrength.com. So for the second day, you're gonna wanna work on your max strength and max power and max rate of force development. You don't have to get fancy if you're only training 2 days a week. The number one thing I would encourage people to do is focus on the fundamentals. Can you squat? Can you hinge? Can you do a calf raise? If you can do the Olympic lifts, you're more than welcome to do that, but there are some other recommendations, and I'll give you those in a second. To start the session, I like to do a barbell warm-up. So typically what I'll do is I'll grab the bar, I'll do 10 RDLs, 10 front squats, 10 back squats, 10 overhead squats, and then if you're proficient enough, you can do hang power cleans with just the bar, working on bar cycling, and then you can do hang power snatch, pulling the bar overhead and just working on getting comfortable moving the bar from your hip to overhead. This will warm up all the relevant musculature while also addressing the movement patterns that you need to get better at if you want to be an elite jumper. Again, for those of you that are watching this video, maybe that's not you, but I would still encourage you to do that because there's a lot of benefits in terms of coordination, and it's a great warm-up. Afterwards, if you want to do some static stretching, this would be the time to do it. So if you've got really tight ankles, sometimes I'll have guys hold a 2-minute stretch with a plate on their knee, pushing the knee forward, trying to open up the ankle a little bit to make deep squatting a little bit easier. Sometimes if guys have really bad internal or external rotation, I'll hold some static stretches with a band to distract the hip a little bit, open it up, and allow you to hit different ranges of motion that'll make squatting a little bit easier, and then also the technique in 2-foot jumping a little bit easier. So the actual lift, you're gonna wanna start with your power work first. So you're gonna do anywhere from 4 to 7 sets of your power work, and you're going to wanna keep the reps less than 3 and the percentages upwards of 70% and more. Once you finish the first 3 sets are typically a warm-up, so I'll start around 25%, build my way up to my working sets, and the last 2 or 3 sets are gonna be working sets. That means these are the weights that I'm gonna be doing 70% or more in my Olympic lifts or power work. Now, if you're not comfortable with the Olympic lifts, you don't wanna power clean, you don't wanna do clean pulls, then you can do barbell jump squats, but you're gonna wanna keep the percentages much, much lower. So I typically recommend about 25 to 30% of your max back squat on your barbell squat jumps. So that is relatively light. Once you finish your power work, you're gonna wanna work on max strength development. You can't generate more power than you can generate in terms of peak force. So we need to get your ceiling for peak force up so that your power has a higher potential to be developed. To do this, I would recommend doing the most fundamental high bar deep squat. The bar should sit below the bone on the top of your neck. You wanna have your hands about shoulder width. Elbows can stay back or down. It is a little bit of a preference. And then you're gonna wanna bend the hip and the knee simultaneously, squatting straight down. Once you get to the full range of motion, maybe you feel a little bit of tightness in your ankle or hip, stand back up. The recommendations for sets and reps here, you're gonna be going 4 to 7 sets of anywhere from 1 to 10 reps at the percentage of 50 to 100% on the working sets. Now keep in mind, reps and percentage are inversely related, meaning the higher the reps you're doing, the lower the percentage you're gonna be doing of your 1 rep max. If you don't know your 1 rep max, then just use an estimate of what you think you could do in a proper, technically sound barbell back squat. For the final 2 lifts, I would encourage you to do a hinging movement, so either a barbell RDL, or I would do a barbell hip thrust, or you could do something like a good morning. I would also encourage you to follow that up with some sort of plantar flexion, so either seated calf raise or standing calf raise, single or double leg. Doesn't really matter which of those you pick. You're not really getting too advanced in your progression here. We're just making sure that we check boxes, make sure we cover those big stones, and achieve the ultimate goal of producing more force in our triple extensors. In terms of sets, reps, and percentages, I would do anywhere from 2 to 3 sets of each of these exercises because they are technically accessories. I would keep the reps anywhere from about 5 to 10 reps, and I actually use rating of perceived exertion and not actual percentages for guys like this. So generally, I recommend that the top set or last 2 sets is about a 7 out of 10 RPE. If you don't know what that is, just use about 70%. The last suggestion that I would give you, if you can squeeze it into your day for 5 minutes, I would encourage you to do isometrics. I would do them on my calf if I have Achilles issues, or I would do them on my knee if I have knee issues. Now, this is specific to tendon issues, but jumping is a very elastic activity. We're storing a lot of energy in the tendon and releasing it very quickly, so it's very common for guys to have tendon injuries pop up. This can offset that. It is preventative, or if you have issues, it can also take care of those. In terms of progression, I would encourage you to increase the weight each session just slightly for your working sets. You could do something as simple as increasing the weight by about 5 pounds each session, and then progressively decrease the reps as you get to a point where you're reaching failure for a given rep range. So for example, if I'm doing 4x10 of barbell back squats, my top sets are at 225, and I'm finding that I'm failing on the 9th or 10th rep, then it's time to go down to 8 reps, and you could actually increase the set so that you're able to increase the intensity of that exercise. That's the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.